the desk. Anyway, welcome Poltron. How are you doing today?
Doing all right, man. Always good to talk to you, Ben.
Yes, absolutely.
League or other stuff, always fun.
Absolutely. You
Yeah,
too, mate. What's it like over in Taipei at the moment in terms of just everything? Not necessarily just the League of Legends, but like life, I guess.
pretty warm actually. It's getting warmer. We always go on a team walk before scrims, and I'm starting to regret that idea. You know, we go for like a 10-15 minute walk, and we all come back sweating now. So whoever came up with that idea needs to be reported. Not a good one anymore.
No. What about the classic temple? Have you attempted the temple mission? You know, like Frank Esports did. Have you given that any thought?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet. We might have to do that soon. It depends. It depends how many more losses we get before we win. If we
No.
don't get a win soon, we might have to whip out all the measures, you know?
Yeah. Mr. Steak had a question, Poltron. He said, "Coach, why you are so handsome?"
Thank my parents.
Is your parents? Is that the only reason? But you do have a bit of a glow
Pretty
going
much.
on. You do have a bit of a glow.
Pretty much.
Sajin, you can ask a
Bit of
question
glow?
if you like.
As in,
Just a glow. You just seem happy. You seem upbeat. Scrims went well.
no,
Oh, you're lagging.
no,
Oh,
no.
there you go.
We got completely dumpstered.
Did you?
But it was a, oh, oh. It was a hard team, so
That's good. So you're still
not too
getting
surprising.
you're still getting scrims against like the top teams.
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah.
You've got to let it in like the really good scrims, and then you put in like some pretty bad teams, so you get that confidence boost back up, you know?
Yeah.
So overall, you know, scrims have been alright.
Okay.
Can't
that's
complain
good.
too much on that front.
Sajin has a question. Why is Biopanther playing set center in OCE at 5 a.m.? To be fair,
Well,
free
that's
time. Also, for you, it would be like midnight, no?
it
Or,
is
like,
it is free time. It is free time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
It's like you do your work before you play, you know?
Yeah.
You got to grind out the reps on the Korean ladder.
Yeah. Is the whole team playing on the Korean ladder? All 5 players playing on it? I
Yeah.
mean, Luon obviously would, but everyone is. Is there like I mean, who's doing the best? Like, who's the highest rank on the Korean ladder at the moment?
Might be Bio actually.
Yeah.
It's either Bio or Husha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty close. It goes up and down.
Yeah.
I think most of the players are pretty similar, you know? But as solo queue goes, one goes up, one goes down. Depends on the day.
Yeah, for sure. Are they challenger? Like, what sort of LP are they sitting? Obviously, the split just ended, but I think no one resets anymore, right? So
High GM, low chal, around there.
yeah. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad, especially because they're doing scrims as well, and a lot of high chowers, a lot of sort of solo queue players in Korea nowadays, even international and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's not too surprising. As for sort of the results, sort of the elephant in the room. Obviously, split 1 didn't find any wins,
Mm.
but coming into split 2, I think like while you haven't won yet, I do think ultimately, at least from my perspective, the games went a lot better. Like Talon game 1, for example, and I've said this on during the cast, is like you had the same sort of thing happen in your first series up against Talon, where you were like 0-0 essentially 20 minutes into the game, except you're also just randomly down 3k gold, whereas this time you're actually just even the whole time, and it's like one mistake, you lose the game. It's like, it happens. Do you think that's like, for you, is that a sign of improvement? Because obviously for me it is, but you'd have more knowledge than I.
I will say our split 2 Chiefs roster is a lot better than the split 1 Chiefs roster. I don't think the performances so far really reflect it. Talon obviously are a very good team, but I think the Talon match, it's no surprise we got 2-0 in that one. The DFM series, I would say we probably actually were the favorites heading into it, despite what people may think. I think the first 2 games we showed a lot of signs of life. Game 3 of the draft was terrible. You know, no one would want to play the Chiefs draft. It is what it is. But considering realistically, we've only had one match against a team that's, around our skill level, if you want to put it that way. We have a lot more to prove. We still have, what, 5 more games to play in the regular season. And obviously, playoffs is the goal first off.
Yeah.
And we'll work from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, sort of on that note, I guess, like, what do you think is the main reason this roster is better? Is it just like they're meshing together like better, or is it sort of a skill thing? Like, is it just that, or even the pressure of having a sub there making people work harder? What do you think is like to attribute to it?
I think the plays we had on Chief Split 1 have definitely improved. That is like one big thing.
Yeah.
And I also do think we did come into Split 1, unfortunately, later than a lot of the other teams. And that is just because, we're an host team. We're not from Asia. We didn't have the luxury of trialing players in terms of the scrims or getting everyone together that early. So we were a little bit behind when we headed into Split 1. So there was a lot of catching up to do. I will say there were a lot of other issues in Split 1 in terms of just, like you said, people didn't mesh, or we had a lot of, you could just say, disagreements about the game or how we should play it, etc. And that took a lot of trial and error to work through to get to that point where, this is a way we can play the game. Now, although that's part of the reason why we're better, I will just say, I think the new players we've added to the team have had an amazing impact. Not just their individual gameplay, but it's more of the impact within the team. If it's the comms or the review or just making the environment better, it's helped like loads, night and day.
Yeah. Okay, that's always really good. And I think like seeing, I want to say the confidence that is being shown in the game is a lot higher than that of Split 1. Like for example, and this might just be down to individual players or whatnot, but like the game you won against DFM, it all kind of kicked off with Husha just strolling in, stealing a Gromp, going back, getting red, and then also outmanning him for the crab as well. And it's like, there was like confidence that was kind of missing, it felt, in the first split. And when there was that sort of confidence, there was like a disconnect where, some people would be going to match that play to make sure there was backup for Mir in that split, and some people wouldn't. And I think like that's a really positive sign and really a good look going forward, because like from my perspective, if you sort of put this roster in, you get the exact same situation as the Team Secret Wales split from Split 1. You're just winning both those games, in my opinion. So hopefully that's like something that doesn't deteriorate, I guess. Like the confidence stays there, even if, you're going up, I believe it's against Vikings this week. It's like, even if you lose to those guys, they're very good. I think it's like, hopefully the confidence isn't going to get hurt.
I mean, the way I look at it, we physically cannot do worse than Split 1, right?
Yeah.
We've already got one win, so
True.
if we even get one more individual win and we bomb the entire split, lose everything, we've doubled our wins. That's improvement. Yeah. But yeah, the confidence, obviously, once we do get that first series win, will skyrocket. But I think the big thing is just you need to focus on the improvement, right? The journey, and let the wins come down the line. So that is something we always push. That is something we need to we got to be disciplined, right? Every day, rock up to scrims, high intensity, play solo queue with high intensity, and it'll translate onto the stage games.
Yeah. One thing that I'm interested in too, because obviously game number 1, series number 1 even, we saw Zoranus played top, and then series 2 it was Biopanther. Are you considering something like we see in CFO, where in between individual games you can sub one and the other in, be it like, obviously Rest and Driver, while they do play the same champs, they sort of specialize in different style of champs, like you're more likely to see Driver play Gragas or Scion, and you're more likely to see Rest on the Cassante or whatever. Do you think that's something that the Chiefs will look to do, or is it more like we'll stay steady throughout the games?
I think the way CFO use their tops is very good. It is part of the reason why we ended up signing a top lane sub, not the entire reason. There's a lot to it. Personally, I just wanted to have a sub on the team. I don't want to have 5 players overseas, no sub. You never know what could rock up, right? What could happen. God forbid anyone actually got really sick and couldn't play, right? You always want that emergency option. Heading into the remainder of the split, for sure, that is something we're still working on. Who's going to start, for example, and who's going to be playing game 1, game 2, and game 3 if we get there again. So I won't go in depth on that right now, but I think with the addition of Fearless Draft this year in general, or, this league, it is very useful having two players, pretty different champion pools.
Yeah. Yeah, and Darkness asked, and I think it's a pretty good question actually, like what was during the draft the thoughts behind the Nidalee in Game 3 of the DFM series?
Yeah, so I'll give some insight on that because I know a lot of people thought the game was lost because we picked Nidalee. Now, my take on it was the draft was already doomed before we got to the R5 Nidalee. Our first three was just terrible. We picked I think it was Skarner Jin. I forgot we picked on 3. So
I can bring it up.
We were already at a huge disadvantage. Yeah, bring it up. Yeah, Let's actually recall the exact draft.
Yeah, let me. I need to go to LCP. Give me a second here. Where are we? LCP mid-season here. I'll have it here as like a smaller screen. Try and not block you. Give me a second. Oh, This is fucked, man. Streaming is so hard. Oh. Boom. Okay, that'll do eventually. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. Oh, this is fucked. Okay. There we go. Okay, now let me just get to the game and then we'll do this. Fuck this, man.
Yeah, just fill up the game first and don't worry about the rest.
Yeah. Okay, match list, and it was here. Nope. Oh wait, is it going? No, yeah. Okay. Production value, true. Okay, so it's game 3. And I believe, so we have the comps here. Yeah, it would have been Jin, Skarner, Bard, right? I think.
Yeah, we picked Jin, Skarner 1, 2. No, on 3 was.
Wait, how does?
Silas. Bard was a 4-5 pick. I remember.
Okay, there we
Bard
go.
was 4, I believe, and then Nidalee was on 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so some context behind the Nidalee top in general. We knew Ray Farkey was going to go to Mbessa in Game 3. It was his best blind pick. It was something we've played in scrims a lot. We had extremely good success with the raw matchup. It looked very good. Again, I think the draft was just really cursed because of the other picks we had. If we had drafted a different first phase on red 1, 2, 3, I do think the Nidalee top would have looked a lot better. But obviously, from the outside, you look at the finalized draft, they're like, oh, this looks bad. Did Nidalee top have high impact this game? No, not necessarily, right? And the game looked pretty bad. So, that's a fair assumption, but that's just my 2 cents on it. Again, we were always happy to trade the Skarner into Lilia in Game 3. No surprise, Gunn was going to take the Lilia. I think in terms of the actual Lilia-Skarner matchup, it's more about your composition. If you have plenty of lockdown for the Lilia, I do think it is a very hard game to play Lilia. But obviously, if you look at, Nidalee top, we had a Bard support, Silas mid, not the best champs for it.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And so, yeah, I guess I'm of the opinion as well, just to give you sort of how I felt, is I think Nidalee is fine into Mbessa, but I also feel like Mbessa, out of all the champs she struggles against, it isn't the worst against Nidalee. And maybe that's because I don't play at the fucking elite tier, of course, but yeah. I mean, it did just end up being a very difficult game to play. Ultimately, Jimmy and on Silas into Oriana's a pretty tough matchup to get through, even. Right, it's not like the Ari matchup where you can kind of heavy trade and you're never actually going to ultimately go down. But it did, seemingly just fall a bit flat. And I guess on that note as well, game number 2, what do you think went so wrong? Because obviously that game started off really well, right? Zoranus just solo kills his top lane opponent and things are looking really good. And then I believe, if I remember correctly, it was around the grubs where things started to go a little bit poorly. And I can bring that game up too, actually, if I find it.
Yeah, so I think draft, I'm still happy with. It's something we've practiced a fair bit of. And like you said, the first 5 minutes were good. Top got a solo kill. We were up farm, and I think 2 out of the 3 lanes, 1 was even. I'd say one big thing we faced in the game, unfortunately, was a lack of communication or lack of understanding. It could have been a language barrier. I'm not too sure exactly what it was, but we had 2 different ideas in the game that we wanted to play for, and we weren't sure what was happening in the exact moment, which led to basically a split play where half the team's playing to trade bot side and half the team's playing for the grub timer. And obviously, the result was just unfortunate for us. But I do think if we actually played the first grub sequence correctly, the game would have looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair. I agree. And I think, honestly, like, one thing that I've noticed, and this is not unique to the Chiefs, but I think it's, like, something that SHG, the Chiefs, and DFM have struggled with the most, seems to be that timer for whether you swap to go to the grubs, which almost every team seemingly unanimously agrees to do, and or if you try to look for something else, like the Dragon, which I think Talon and CFO really are the two teams that are pretty happy to just give over the first 3 grubs if it allows them a good timer to get Dragon and some gold on the other side of the map. And I think, like, that is, for myself, when watching the games and all the games that I cast and whatnot, that seems to be where I think SHG is the worst sort of victim of it, where they go for the swap and an even game just suddenly turns into a 2k gold deficit. So I guess, like, if I had a question for it, it'd be like, how do you think you can sort of navigate through that, especially considering sort of the language barrier that just naturally will exist in the Chiefs, making out-of-game conversations a little more harder to sort of navigate through?
So we're at a point where our in-game systems in terms of communication is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Where the language barrier won't really affect much stuff. We make it very clear. We've got basic English on all the players, who are obviously non-native English speakers, and we use pings a lot to communicate. In the review, so I'll say for our upcoming match against Vikings, we are playing on the new patch.
Yeah.
So 1 spawner grubs at 8 minutes only. So it has shifted, a fair bit. Artican's changed a bit. And then Rift Herald's 15-minute spawn instead of 16, right? So, again, it's for us to work out, do we want to overload for it? Do we want to swap? Do we want to play standard lanes? How do we want to use the grubs, right? And when you have a lot of differing opinions, it does just come down to, all right, we should choose one first, try it out, see how it goes, discuss it again, and then try the other side, right? And that is something where I think a lot of the teams heading into next week will be figuring out themselves, right? Normally, you could be, what's top of LCK doing, right? What's top of LPL? Are they just giving the grubs? Are they playing for it? Are they drag heavy? As you mentioned, Talon and CFO in Split 1, or not Split 1, sorry, but in the earlier weeks of Split 2, they really love just stacking dragons. And I think it's not a bad way to play the game. As long as you can defend the enemy grub timers and you don't, lose all your towers, dragon stacking is pretty powerful. I think when you watched LEC in Split 1, why did KC win? They just stacked all the dragons. They played very slow, very conservative, got to the items, and they won the game. So it really does come down to what your team thinks is the best, and if you can execute on that play pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I guess one positive for you guys, right, and you just touched on it, is that change of the patch. Now, I imagine every team is scrimming on tournament realms, so they've all, had their fair chance to establish what they think is best. And instead of sort of asking, I guess, like, what you think is best, but what I want to ask is, how do you think these changes have impacted the flow of the game? Because obviously right now, there is just an objective always up almost. Like, it feels like you have 2 minutes maybe reprieve before there's another void grabbed, or there's the Rift Heals now spawning, the Artican's on the other side of the map, the Dragon's now up, the Baron's here now. So now where there is just less objectives, but potentially the objectives are more impactful, how do you think the flow of the game has sort of developed from that?
So I think the big thing is there's no more first dragon and grubs trade. Because they were before both on, relatively a similar timer, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, a lot of teams would just be, all right, we're weaker for first grubs, we'll just take dragon and defend their turn after, right? But now, with the only grub timer being 8 minutes, it's sort of similar to the old Rift Herald where it was at 8 minutes, right? And you could use it to slam tower plates. Now, I think a lot of teams will have differing opinions on how they want to play the game. If it's like, play for first dragon every game, or give first dragon, lane swap, dive enemy top, right? Really comes down to, again, the draft and the play styles. From the limited number of games I've seen of the new patch, in my opinion, grubs are just the most overpowered objective in the game. I think giving 3 grubs is extremely, detrimental, because the enemy team can just overload on any side, or if you have any neutral trade, or even if you play the game slowly, the fact that you can get, the grub might, technically you have 4 grubs at 8 minutes 30 in the game, So you're snowballing the game. You're breaking all those tower plates. And if you do manage to get one or two, small tempo advantages, you're now breaking 10 plates a game with the grubs alone. So that's just my 2 cents on it anyway.
Damn. Yeah, that's crazy. And I was wondering, like, one other thing, and this is more like of a personal thing, and maybe it's changed as the new patch, but I think in the LCP, this Yorick champion just completely blows. Like, I swear when it wins, it's like, okay, but you could have won with literally any other top lane, because it's like, what is Yorick actually doing? Almost nothing. And then more often than not, it's losing and doing nothing. So I know internationally a lot of people are playing Yorick and having success, but from what I've seen, it's just like, man, this champion just doesn't do anything. Like, that's how it honestly feels to me. What's your take on that? Because obviously you would have seen a lot more reps of Yorick, both, I guess, probably for your team, but certainly against it.
Okay. I think Yorick is just extremely annoying to deal with. Even the games where the Yorick looks like it didn't do that much, it's just the pressure it brings, right?
Yeah.
You never want to leave Yorick on that side lane alone.
Yeah.
If you ever send 5 for, Rift Herald, and Yorick's just a lone bot hitting your tower, if you're, if you don't die on the Herald, you can give Herald, waste their time, catch your waves, your tower's gone. That is it is really annoying to play against Yorick. Now, I think Yorick is still a good champ. Is it the most OP top in the game? I don't think so necessarily. But whenever you play against Yorick, the pressure that champ exerts is like insane. Obviously, there are some really good lane matchups such as Irelia that I think you'll rarely see it in pro play, unless your top lane is like a really good Irelia. It is very hard to play, especially when the enemy team can like draft Poppy stuff like that, right? Where the game becomes a lot harder.
Yeah, that's fair. We need Yi Jung back, is what I'm kind of hearing here, because that guy loves himself a bit of Irelia. But no, I get that though.
He loves himself some Riven, bro.
He does. He plays all those champs. The OCE Chinese solo queue champs. My man. But the Yorick thing is like, I get it that he exerts pressure, but he just essentially makes the game a 4v4, no? Because it's just like the other top just sits in that lane, Yorick just sits in that lane. It's like, then it's just a 4v4 on the other side of the map. That's how I see it. And obviously in the game it'll feel different. And I know I've played solo queue against Yorick. I know how that feels. But I don't know. I still am yet to see it. I've been largely disappointed from it. But sort of going forward from that, because of all the changes, I think like if you remember back when there was kind of only dragon stacking, top lane became like a non-role in competitive. Do you think that's like possible to happen now? Because obviously you said the grubs are very OP, but at 8 minutes you can just send your bot lane up there again, right? And the majority of the game, it feels like, is going to be played around where these dragons are spawning, because even now, where there's like a couple of grub spawns, people I think the dragons have had more success so far, and maybe it's because the better teams are focusing on them, but it seems like dragons are more successful now, and it gives more avenue for dragons to be successful, being that there are less objectives on the top side.
So I think dragon stacking is just the easiest way to play the game.
Yeah.
Makes it very simple. You don't need to overload, you don't need to do anything crazy. You just need to stack the dragon, and then, or let's say you can get first dragon for free a lot of games, depending on your draft. Game 2, or Drake 2, Drake 3, set it up, play the fight, right? You have a simple way of progressing the game. You have the late game win con of, oh, let's get solo, we can play for Elder, whatever it is. So I do think, even at the top levels, if you do play Dragon Stack, is it necessarily the best? Maybe it was before. Maybe it is now after the grub change. I don't know for sure, but I do think it does dumb down the game. Now, you could ask, oh, why do the top teams, or why do, CFO talent like Dragon Stacking, why do KC like to do it? Game's hard. Even the top players find the game hard, right? If you have high execution drafts, high execution game plans, it's not easy to get to that stage of the game, right?
Yeah.
I think only the top teams globally, maybe top 2, top 3 LCK, LPL, have really managed to do that consistently. If you watch Gen G play with the current grub patch or the old grub patch, they did it very well, but it is very hard to do that.
For
so
sure.
a lot of teams just go back to, dragons may be a little bit worse than the grubs, but we can just play for Drakesoul every game.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I think nowadays we can't really put LPL in the same tier as LCP, because they're the 4th best region and we're the 3rd, because CFO completely dominate those guys. So
yeah, that is true.
Just keep that in mind, that LCP
CFO
is in
goats.
fact better than LPL. So just letting you know. Chiefs could be like a top 14 over there from what I can see. But You
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah. You never know. We might get
Yeah.
our first one in LPL.
That's right. That's right. No, but how did that actually? Speaking of it, how did you guys feel sort of at the Chiefs after CFO did so well? Was it like very vindicating? Like even though obviously your split one was pretty poor, it must be like obviously for me, I loved it. I was like thrilled. You know, I was beyond over the moon with how well they did. Really upset Game 5 against KC, of course, but for them to go overseas and just dominate like 2-0 NA, EU, and LPL was really cool. And so I can only imagine how like you guys felt. I was wondering how that would be.
I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. It is a great feeling, right? New league, and we're coming in with a bang.
Yeah.
If you look at PSG in previous years, at Worlds or whatever, I do think they've probably underperformed a bit compared to where a lot of the PCS watchers thought they could be, right? I do think in the past people have been like, oh, PCS or, the LCP region, it's not that good. Like, top three EU is still better. But you look at CFO and they're like, wow, like we're neck and neck with, seed one or we're better than seed one NA by a fair margin. You could say we're even with KC. I do think if we play the BO5 again, CFO would probably win. But again, you never know, right? I'm not going to say they're the outright favorites, but
Sure.
it is a great feeling like watching, or it was a great feeling for sure watching CFO do well at first stand.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And okay, I got another question about I guess about CFO, probably, but it might not be. You're not allowed to say Junja. Who do you think is like the best performing player in the league? Like just from start of the split one to now as well. Who do you think overall is like as an individual has like shown the most
In the league, not just CFO, right?
in the league? Yeah, but like Junja's probably the easy answer, so we're eliminating Junja from that pool.
Ooh. I mean, I think Kai Wing has played like very well on that team.
Yeah.
I will say Kai Wing's like definitely up there. Is he better than Woody necessarily? It's hard to tell. Different teams, different play styles, different issues. If I had to give one that wasn't Junja in the entire league, I would actually say Doggo, just because he is very, very, very consistent. I know at first stand maybe he had one or two bad games, but when I watched back the LCP finals and all the playoffs, he just does his job.
Yeah.
He does his job very well. It's like when he's playing any 80 carry verse, Champ's like, oh, Nocturne, what does he do? He sits in the bush, doesn't show, doesn't deal damage, waits for Nocturne ult to, you be used on his ally, then walks up, gets damage done. And I just find that sort of very, very consistent gameplay extremely like beneficial to them. And that's why CFO have won so many games as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of the Exodia of the league at the moment. They've taken the throne from Talon or PSG or Talon, whichever one you want to say. But yeah, I wonder sort of since you've been in Taipei, and obviously I imagine you stayed there over the course of like first stand and stuff, right?
Yeah, I haven't left. I've been here for like 5 months.
Yeah. Okay. So during that, outside of League of Legends, what is like some things you've done? Like obviously, I hope you've had some time over the break or like maybe on a weekend, whatever. They've gone out and whatever, gone to a restaurant or gone sightseeing. Have you done any like cool things like this? Is there any cool experiences that you could share?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think in the first split especially, I would, or even before split 2 started, whenever the boys in the house are around, I'd always be like, hey, you want to go out? We'll grab dinner on this day. Or I went out one time, watched a movie at the local cinemas just to see what it was like. I'm pretty sure it's just some American movie. It was in English as well, but it was good.
Nice.
Pretty much just going for any experiences with the guys is always fun.
Yeah.
I think during the big break we had between split 1 and 2, where it was pretty much myself and Brandy at the house. Like if I wasn't at the house, I'd just be going out like traveling, taking the MRT, or if you want to call it the train, just around, seeing if there's anything fun to do. I ran into a couple groups where I'm pretty sure, what were they doing? I think there was like a massive like trash collection group where they would go to the beach or something, just like clean it up or something. And I
Damn.
just got to meet some cool people. But yeah, it's good. It's nice being here. Like everyone's really friendly.
Yeah.
Well, at least all the people I've met, really friendly.
Yeah. So yeah, true. Well, that's good, and that was my experience, although much more brief than your time over there. Like the 3 days I think it was that I was in Taipei was crazy, just how nice and willing to help everyone was. But yeah, and I got two more questions for you, Poltron, mate. I think first of all, because now you went over to the PCS in the past, now going to the LCP, you've got your stadium, this split now, there's fans there. What is the sort of vibe? Like how do you feel when you're on the stage? You have Mr. Steak in the crowd shouting out Chiefs fighting and all this. Like, what's the atmosphere like for you, and what's the atmosphere like for the boys, sort of in the arena?
I mean, first off, huge shout out to Mr. Steak. I know you're probably watching this again. You're not just probably the best and biggest Chiefs supporter, but you also support the LCP, which is just amazing to see. In general, I think having a live audience is like really nice. People rock up. A lot of people, when they see the Chiefs rocking up outside, they will walk up. They're like, "Oh, they really want photos with Jimmy and Husha."
Yeah.
Obviously, all the local fans. I was actually surprised, like how many people there were just waiting. I think every single time we've gone in and left, there have been people like run into us, be like, "Oh, I love watching you guys play. Can we please get a photo?" Every single time. So it's really good to see everyone supportive. I think there were one or two fans the other day against Talon that were like, "Oh, Chiefs 0-2 Talon, so I hate those supporters. Don't come back." Like, it's good. Everyone here is good.
No, that's awesome. And obviously, I want to give you a chance again. I did it when we had our interview on broadcast, but that was sort of rushed a little bit because of sort of time for the next game. Do you have any message that you want to send out to, fans of yourself, fans of the Chiefs, or any just fans of the LCP?
I think for those who are from OCE, or those who have watched the Chiefs or followed the Oceanic Plays for a long time, if you're still supporting us, if you still have faith in us, that is huge. That is huge because like the amount of faith you need to be like, Chiefs are getting demolished this one, split two, we're still losing, and you still have faith. That it is impressive. If I was on the outside watching, I'm like, what's going on? Like, can we win? Like, is OCE that bad? And I intend to bring it back. I intend to actually prove that OCE is not that bad. That OCE can compete at this level. And yeah, if you are a new fan to the Chiefs, if you're a local like Mr. Steak here, who loves to come and watch us, we do it for you guys. We do it for the fans. We do it for the people who support us. Because if there's no one supporting us, why are we here? What are we doing for?
Yeah, I think very well said. And it shows in both the interview I had with you, the time that you've taken out of your day. Obviously, you're just in between scrims now, so you'd usually, go eat, whatever. And also Violet as well, from when I had him on the broadcast. It really shows that you guys truly are determined to, not only get this first series win or whatever, but to elevate the standing of OC Sports and OCE LoL Sports in particular. So I think I can, on behalf of everyone in Oceania, thank you for what you do. It can't be easy being you guys and going through the things you're going through, the difficult times after games and whatnot. So yeah, big thank you from us. And I'll tell you what, mate, you'll always have at least one supporter in Mr. Steak.
No, it does mean a lot coming from you and obviously everyone who does support us. I will say this year's been it has been tough. Obviously, losing all the games. I think in Split 1, it was way worse than what it has been in Split 2 for a lot of reasons. I will say I was pretty surprised to receive so many really bad messages heading to the league. It's not a new thing as a pro player, coach, whatever you want to say. Whenever you're competing at this level, you will get messages. But the amount of death threats there were, especially in Split 1, were crazy.
Damn.
Not necessarily to me, but to players. Maybe they're just angry betters, but yeah, it was crazy to see.
It's probably angry betters.
It's always good.
It's probably angry betters.
Probably angry betters. But
the chat's
but I
always
will say on another
betters.
note, those people who do support the individuals on Chiefs or Chiefs as a whole, we remember all of you, and it really does help every individual person.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mr. Steak, I guess before I let you go, obviously you got to go eat dinner and whatnot. But Mr. Steak wants to know what your favorite Taiwanese food is, and that you have to try stinky tofu.
I've never tried stinky tofu. I've walked past a stinky tofu place near the apartment like a lot. I
Yeah,
should probably go on one day.
I always avoided it.
It is like a lot. It is a lot. In terms of Taiwanese food, it's like a really good dumpling place near us that I love going to. I mean the food is good. I can't lie,
Have you? Was it?
but I haven't tried too much stuff.
It was with you and Danny that you went to that dumpling place, right? Or Danny found like a random dumpling place or something last year.
No, yeah, that was a different dumpling place. The
Oh,
dumplings here are really good, actually.
yeah,
Like
I'm
they're,
not
they're really
surprised,
good.
man. You're
It's like
comparing
one of
them
my
to
go-to foods
Australian
here.
ones. Green Mushroom also has a question, just again before I let you go. Sorry, Poltron. He wanted to know, what do you
Yeah.
think of the big patch changes being implemented early in Split 2, and do you think that big patch changes should be introduced in mid-split or before a split starts / before big international events?
Okay, so my take on it is I don't think big changes should happen right before like major events such as MSI and Worlds. I know Riot have done that in the past. Riot love doing that for some reason. Maybe they want to make it
Season
really
5.
spicy, but I do think it makes sense. I do think it makes sense for the team who won their league or whoever qualified for the big leagues to be able to play on that patch or a patch where nothing has changed too much. But whenever stuff changes overnight, you're like, oh, why is this team representing our league when the second seed team are much better at playing the star, right? So that's my 2 cents on it. In terms of what else was on the question?
When I guess like when
Oh
do
no,
you
that was
think?
just the question.
Yeah, when do you
Yeah, I'd
think it
rather.
should be implemented? I guess.
Mm. I think mid split's not bad actually, because then teams aren't stuck with one play style the entire split, so you get to see both sides of a team if you want to put it that way. I don't mind it being at the start of each split, as now we have what, 3 splits, right? So you have 3 splits, 3 different metas. I think it's fair enough. I just don't like seeing it at the very end of a split. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. I mean, that I guess pretty much does it. I'll let you go and have dinner and get ready. I assume you got another scrim block from my understanding. So thank you very much, Poltron, for your time. Again, on behalf of
Yeah.
everyone, we are all very supportive of you. I know myself, it's not always easy, I'll be honest, to constantly have faith and then it's like just so close to actually getting rewarded, but I'm very confident we will be as fans and as supporters of the Chiefs. So thank you very much for your time, man, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
No worries.